Hey everyone, happy Friday. This is Finance Friday, the show where we transform your relationship with your money by giving you the information that you need to grow and protect your wealth. I'm Amy Novakovich. I'm here with my very special guest today, Beth McElhern. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
We are going to talk all things kids savings today. So I know this is so many people's area of question. Actually, I'm going to share this out real quick. I'm going to share out this link. If you can, go ahead and share this out. Actually, follow me on Twitter at Novakovich. Oh, sorry. Follow me on Twitter at Novakovich. Amy, do you say follow Instagram?
Like our Instagram?
Like our Instagram?
Yeah.
See, I'm still learning whole social media stuff. But follow us on Instagram, the Nova Wealth Management. And then I'm also going to post this to our podcast. We have a podcast on iTunes. Hey, Jackie. We have a podcast on iTunes, The Nova Wealth Show. Jim and I are actually in the middle of a series right now. Do you need a will or a trust? It's a 2-part series, but I'm also going to post this to our podcast. So I did a show like this on college savings last year, but it was in the middle of Irma.
Oh,
do you remember this?
I do.
I was at like a Target.
You were at Target and you had the headphones in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coming back from Cleveland. It was really crazy. And we do get this, the girl in the dress.
Thank you, Andy.
That's Andy. Thanks, Andy. Hey, Johnny. Johnny, his shirts were mailed out, yes?
Yes.
Okay, they were mailed. They're on the way. We need to do another giveaway on this show. Okay, I'm already getting off track. Beth doesn't have a lot of time, so I have to go quickly. But we get questions on this all the time. Or what are my options for educational planning, college planning, just saving for my kids in general, but also how much do I put in? Like, when do I know to save for my kids? When do I know to save for my retirement versus saving for my kids? When do I start? We get all kinds of questions, so we're going to cover all today. So why don't you tell them a little bit about, while I share this video, because I can't do 2 things at once, about what you did, because Beth has 2 boys. And you did the prepaid, right?
I did. So we live in Florida, for those of us that are outside of Florida watching us. And when I had my 2 children, I did the Florida prepaid plan, which allowed us to pick a couple different options. And the one that I picked for my oldest.
What do you mean by a couple different options?
So you had options, or like you could
tuition,
you could do tuition. You could do the state college.
Right.
I think it was 1 year, or you could do their 4-year plan, or it was a 1-year university plan, or a 4-year university plan, or dormitory fees, expenses, things like that. So I chose a 4-year university plan for my oldest. So
for just tuition, or for everything?
Just tuition.
Okay.
And then I figured if he wants to live it, he needs to figure out how to live.
Right.
He needs to.
Which is okay, by the way, guys. I can't tell you how much in financial planning that parents paying for their kids' college, like when they're trying to work and they're trying to save for their retirement, is super stressful. So it's okay if you don't save 100% of your kids' college, that they get a part-time job in college. I mean, I did it. I worked 3 jobs. Like, it's okay to teach them responsibility and let them be responsible for some of that. I know you might want to try to cover everything in all of their college, but live in Indonesia. Hello, that's awesome. Wow. Hi from Indonesia. What time is it there? I would love to know what time it is there. But anyway, but you don't have to try to save for everything. So that's the first thing I want you to switch, is the psychology that you must save for all things.
Right.
Because there's different investment vehicles and there's different like prepaid college plans that work for maybe just the tuition, like you said.
Right. I wanted my kids to know that their tuition for 4 years was covered.
Right.
But everything else that comes along with it, they needed to work for. So then when my second son was born, and I started them when they were newborns, which is just the cheapest to do it.
Right.
The 4-year university plan was about 3 times the amount, because Florida had raised their tuition so much.
Just in 2 years?
In 27 months. I can't even make that out. So I wound up doing which is the 2-year state plan and 2-year university plan. So it'll pay for 2 years at not a university.
Yeah.
And then 2 years at a university. If he chooses to do that. So it just pays for 60 lower credits, I think they called it.
So it can be either or it has to be 2?
It can be either or.
Either or, okay.
But I'm going to have to make
And
up
this
the
is
difference.
Florida, by the way, for everybody watching. This is Florida.
So
I got more comments coming in.
I didn't do...
a lot of states do have a prepaid college plan, though, that you can prepay tuition, or like Beth said, you can prepay a food plan or a room and board plan.
And where I was from New York,
So
they did not have that. They did not have prepaid plans. And in my family, my brother was in the military. My other two sisters went to state schools, and I was the one that went to a private school.
Good job.
Out of state, went out.
But and you said you just paid off your student loans last year?
No,
that's a whole
like
nother
3 months ago.
Oh, really?
April.
Mine was last year. Yeah, I paid off my last student loan.
So 15 years from the start of it, and one I paid off.
And that's okay, guys. Like really, we talked about this, that the payment is so low, and sometimes the interest rate is low as well. So from a cash flow standpoint, kids can pay for that, and then when they become adults, it's not something that's like a huge burden on them, unless they've got like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 in loans. Then that can be tough. But then that's their choice. If they're going to like extended school, they're obviously going to make a good living.
Right.
So the first thing I want everybody to get rid of is the guilt and the urgency that I have to save for everything and all things college. Because like Beth said, she had student loans, I had student loans, we survived. It's not a debt that you have to rush to pay off, because it's not necessarily bad debt. But first thing we talked about, to summarize, is the prepaid
college plan. Yeah,
college plan.
Right.
But you have to go to an in-state school.
Well, yes, you have to pick one. So if you decide to go, and this was the other question, is people are like, well, why would you do that?
That's what my parents did.
If you want to leave, okay, well, my 9-year-old said, Mom, I'm going to Auburn. I'm like, good for you. How are you paying for it?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get him thinking about, okay, that's great that you want to go to Auburn, but you better have some really stellar scholarships to do that. So the money in the Florida prepaid plan, I don't lose it. And then say he gets out and he decides that he doesn't want to go to school right away. I have 10 years from the projected enrollment date to use it.
Okay.
In Florida.
And does it go against, because this is one of the things that we'll talk about when we get to 5 to 9 plans and covered all, is does it go against, do we have 8 minutes?
8 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Does it go against when you apply for financial aid?
I don't know that. I think it covers it, and then the financial aid does the other half. At least that's how it was explained to me when I initially applied for it. Was that,
or like scholarships? Does it go against you if you're applying for scholarships?
I don't believe so. That's
for a different. Okay.
At least that's what it explained to me.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that you might have to look into. But one of your options is a state-specific prepaid college plan, and the idea is you pay for college at today's pricing to avoid like all the inflation of college tuition. So another option that we talk about is 529 plan. And we do this for our clients. We do this for plenty of people. A 529 plan is a plan where you put money into an investment account. You are the custodian. So the adult is the custodian and runs the account and makes the decisions on the account. And then the child is the beneficiary. And the beneficiary can be changed. Mm-hmm. So like if Beth is my daughter and she doesn't go to college,
and I'm older.
If Beth is my daughter and doesn't go to college, I can switch it to another child, to a grandchild, to a niece or a nephew. So I can switch the beneficiary. But the idea is the money grows tax deferred, and then the money can be used tax free if it goes towards any kinds of college expenses. Okay, so anything like room and board or food or books, anything like that, or tuition. So the prepaid college plan, the 529 plan, and then you can easily just open up a regular investment account.
That's another thing that I did too, is because I was well, I was worried too that my youngest, because he has the 2-year university and the 2-year state, I was like, well, what if I really don't have enough for him?
Right.
And the other one's got the 4-year university plan, and what if he's doesn't wind up, like, what do I do? So I want to do that.
Can you switch it on the prepaid plan? Can you switch, like, let's say, okay.
No, that's, from my understanding, it stays with that child.
It's the one child.
Right. And so I got in a discussion online one night about.
At least this is Florida again. So this isn't like we had another employee, Ryan, was telling me that Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky, right.
Right.
He was doing it. So we got in discussion online about ESAs.
Yeah.
So, and this one person was trying to convince me that she was going to get a 12% return on
an educational savings account, by the way.
And that's what she was told to do, is that, well, why didn't I consider that? And I could give my kids more options. And I'm like, first of all, you have to pick what works for you. Mm-hmm. So if it works for you, like the risk for me was to make sure my kids' tuition was paid for. If that doesn't work for you, go at it. But then I even laid it out for her. Even if you make 12% on your $100 a month that you're putting in, yeah, you're still going to get like $110,000 by the time that kid is 18. on top of that.
If you start right away.
If you start right away. And not only that, but I said, when I graduated from my 4-year degree 15 years ago, it was $100,000 worth of education that I had. It was $25,000 a year back in 1999.
Oh, jeez.
When I first started.
You just dated
I
yourself.
did date myself. That's okay. But then I was telling you too, like I went on and did my master's degree, but it was covered by the place I worked for.
Right.
So at least
that's another thing.
I didn't have to do that.
Your child could get something covered. Such a great topic. I know. Thank you, Kara. Like this is such a, you can switch it. Tamara said you can switch it. The name of the Florida prepaid.
Good to know.
Yes, good to know.
And
you have to check on these things because every state is different. But the Florida prepaid, there's, at least for us, there's options on if it's just tuition or books or room and board or food. Like you can do a la carte or you can do all inclusive. But like you said, the 12%, first of all, is not guaranteed.
And it's a pipe dream. Like that's great. I was like, that's great that you think that. That's just not realistic.
That it's easy to just average 12%.
Because if that was 12%, wouldn't we all be doing it?
I think so.
And didn't we also realize too that type of plan she's talking about, you can only put $2,000 a month, or
you have to be below a certain income amount. So that's a good transition into that. So let's table for a second the regular investment account that I had mentioned. Let's talk about the educational savings accounts or Coverdell savings accounts. The maximum that you can put in is $2,000 a year. It is, I believe it is tax deductible, actually. I need to look that one up. I think it might be tax deductible. But this is more for tuition of elementary school and they're below 18. Thank you.
Yeah.
Below 18. So it's also for lower income. You have to have below a certain level of income to be able to contribute. So Coverdells are not super common. A lot of people don't know about them. It's similar to a 529 where the money comes out tax-free for educational expenses. But again, they're not super popular. It's something that, of course, we can look into for clients, but the 529 is an easier way to put more money into. And I like the 529s too because like anybody can put money into it.
That's true.
So like a grandparent can put money into it for you. You know, anybody can be that custodian on the 529. It doesn't have to be the parent.
The prepaid, you can do that.
The prepaid, you can do that too.
I know too, because you can send the link to people and they can contribute to it. So instead of like if they're younger and they don't know what to get them for a gift, whoever can make a contribution to that. I recently learned that.
Nice. Very nice. Well, the thing we talk about all this tax stuff, so it comes out tax-free. You might be asking yourself, well, Amy, what's an account that doesn't grow tax-free? So if you do a regular investment account, so if I open an account, you know, Amy Novakovich with the beneficiary of my husband, Jim, just, you know,
sure,
who's not here? Whatever. But I can just invest in anything I want. I could go out and buy McDonald's stock, not an endorsement, not a recommendation, just an idea. McDonald's stock, and it grows over the years, and then I sell it when my child is 8, and I made a ton of money. Okay, you're going to owe taxes. When you sell things, when you sell investments and you made money, you owe taxes on what we call gains. Those are capital gains. When you make money, you owe money. If you buy mutual funds, they pay taxable distributions that are, you owe taxes on them, even if you don't sell them. So in a regular investment account, outside of what we said, a 529 or Coverdell, or even like the prepaid, that's tax-free. Yes?
The Coverdell?
No, the Florida prepaid. When it goes,
because I'm putting
after
tax dollars in.
It's tax-free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do a regular investment account, there's no limits. You can put in whatever you want. You can take the money out when you want because it's in your name. Are you guys getting this? Do you understand? Because I can do a summary. I'll do a summary. Is this for all states or just Florida? Lindsay, the prepaid, are you saying? The prepaid, the one specifically we're talking about is just, we're talking about Florida, but all states kind of have their own programs. Like Ryan, I don't know if you're still on, but, and thank you for saying they're not tax deductible, guys, because I wasn't sure on that. But Ryan, if you're still on, the Kentucky prepaid, you know, is that similar to the Florida prepaid, or is it different? Because every state, it's going to be totally different for that state, Lindsay. So you would have to call Ohio and see the state of Ohio and see what programs they had, or we could go online and I could even find that for you actually. But every state kind of has their own different quirks and their different pricing. But 529s, yes, you can do a 529. That's not state specific. So 529s are, we have 10 seconds.
we've got just a few minutes
4
to wrap it up.
Okay. So real quick to summarize. Prepaid, your state prepaids can prepay for tuition at today's prices to avoid inflation. That's a state prepaid program that you must check for every state. Then you've got the 529 plan, which can be with a lot of different investment firms do it. Some of the bigger ones are BlackRock. Even American Funds.
Florida Prepaid does offer a 529 plan.
Oh, do they? Okay.
So your state might offer.
Fidelity, I think, offers one. So a lot of these different companies offer 529 plans, which is an investment account for the benefit of a child that grows tax-free if you use it for college expenses. And the beneficiary or the child that you put on there can be changed if they don't go to college. Okay? And then I'll have to talk to my dad about that. I joined late. Did you already talk about a Roth IRA? No, I did not talk about a Roth.
I think that's.
Do I pay taxes on that when I take money out once I'm retired, which is better, IRA or Roth IRA? For saving for the kids. So if you're doing 529 can also be used for vocational schools,
which I knew that one.
Yes, yep. I knew that one too. You were only talking. I was like, well, no, saving for kids, and I can continue this. I know you got to go. But I guess if we want to talk about saving for kids for IRAs, you're talking about saving for your kids' retirement. Holy cow, you're a nice mom.
Yeah, we're totally planning ahead. Yeah, and how we got talking about this too is that when it was my turn to go to college, like I said, like my parents, there was 3 others ahead of me. So it's not like we talked about college savings when in the 80s. Something like that really happened.
No.
So,
for sure.
And my parents were quite particular. You are going to college or the military. And then when I wanted to go to the military, my dad's like, could you not do that?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I'm going for the band. It's not like I'm going for anything exciting.
For the band?
Yeah. I auditioned for the United States Marine Band.
Nice.
And was accepted. But that's a whole other story for a whole other time. But anyway, so I went to
something, a little tidbit we didn't know about Beth today.
Yeah. I play in a band now. Of course I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons that I decided to do that for my kids is because I didn't want them to be when they're 18 years old and go, okay, now what? Because it's kind of what happened with me. And thankfully it all worked out and there were scholarships and everything else, but still. So
right. But Marcy, to talk about saving for kids just in general, you can open up a regular investment account. That was one of the other options I was saying. It's not designated for just college. It's not designated for anything. It can be for their first home down payment. It can be for their first car. You can just invest in a minor savings account. They're UTMAs and UGMAs. That's just an acronym. A uniform transfer to minor account is what it is in Florida. It's basically just a minor investment account where you get tax advantages on your gains because it's taxed at the child's tax rate, but it's just a regular investment account. Don't overcomplicate it. It's just an account you're opening for the child for whatever reason you want. And I can do a whole different Finance Friday on doing Roth IRAs and for children. But we got to wrap this up because Beth's got to go. Sorry. So I will do a summary YouTube video and I'll post it in the comments because I know we kind of talked about several different options here, 3, 4, 5 different options. So I will cover that in a YouTube video and summarize. And then I'll also do, maybe I'll even do a YouTube video on the whole IRA segment that Marcy was talking about for kids. Okay. All right, guys, have an awesome weekend. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next week.
Bye. What do you do from here?
You hit end.